Hey, this is Alvin, and we've been getting a lot more questions about rent by the room options. And after years of talking investors out of these options for a number of reasons, I'm proud to say that we finally entered this market solving for the three major challenges. Today, I want to spotlight a far more scalable, less risky alternative to the rent by the room model. This solves for the three biggest challenges that are in the rent by the room space, and this property is uniquely positioned inside Punta Gorda. By the end of today's video, you're going to see why this is a superior option, and you're going to learn the benefits of investing in an area like Punta Gorda. We're going to start this video by talking about the three major challenges by going the rent by the room or pad split model. The first is we're typically trying to add more bedrooms to the space. Adding more bedrooms creates higher overall rents, and that's supposed to be a benefit. There's obviously a lot of pitfalls to this. One is that it's probably not up to code, probably didn't follow latest permit issues. Secondly, your neighbors don't want this, city doesn't want this. Generally, you're not going to find a great opportunity to park 6 cars inside of a single driveway. The neighbors are going to be aware of this, and they're not going to like this. Additionally, this adds to your upfront cost. Not only are you buying the property, are you paying interest and all that stuff, but now you're also paying to furnish the property and add additional bedrooms. And keep in mind that it's likely that the future buyer does not want this kind of configuration. So if you're dealing with a house hacker or someone who's going to rent this out traditional annual rentals, they don't want all these extra rooms. It actually makes it more cumbersome and makes the repair costs a lot higher. So obviously avoiding the regulatory risk, avoiding these upfront costs will be beneficial for the investor. Number two is that if you want to have a well-performing rent by the room property, you're likely going to have to become the operator. And when I say the operator, I mean you become the property manager. This becomes your core competency. This is your unique skill sets. This goes more in line with when you're doing a short-term rental. The best performing short-term rentals, the best performing rent by the room properties is when the operator makes this a core competency and they bring on their unique skill sets and ability. This is contrary to the number one reasons why people even become a real estate investor. The whole point of becoming a real estate investor is to gain freedom, to buy your time back. Well, if you're an operator handling emails, responding to tasks, doing repair requests, now this becomes like a job, and a more annoying job at that because the work never ends. So the responsibilities of an operator of a rent by the room model is obviously going to be screening tenants, putting tenants in. You're going to have a higher turnover just because of the nature of this kind of business. You're going to have to deal with a lot more repair requests, a lot of different bodies inside the same building. And then you got to deal with like cleaning and chores and whether or not the residents even get along with each other. So you add in all of the paperwork, all of the people, all the unique setups, all the furniture, and you can get pretty overwhelmed very quickly. And unless this is your passion, unless this is your mission in life, it could be draining. And I'm a big fan of doing what's easier because that's a faster way to scale because you avoid burnout and you have higher capacity. The third biggest challenge is the vacancy. When you have 6 different people inside of a single house and they each are paying month to month, you have different personalities, you have a shrunken space, and it doesn't feel like a home. So the goal is always to get out of that situation as quickly as possible. And when you're doing month by month rentals, it's very easy for them to get out. And you can go a long time with having a higher vacancy. And so every time you have a vacancy, you have to go ahead and get a new tenant. You're going to have to screen new people, get them trained with the rules of the house. You're going to have higher turnover costs of turning over the units, painting the walls, replacing the furniture, et cetera, et cetera. And every time you bring a new person into the property, there could be increased friction among the tenants. We had growing demand for investors wanting to go into this rent by the room space, but we knew if we were going to enter this space, we'd have to solve for the biggest challenges. Now I'm going to explain how we solve for 3 biggest challenges of the rent by the room model. So the first main benefit is we decided not to make any additional alterations necessary by the new investment. The properties will be turned over to the investor already prepped for rent by the room. This means that each bedroom will have their own door key, and we're actually looking for longer lasting tenants. So we're not going to put 5 or 6 units inside of a property. We're going to keep it to 4. This gives you a functioning dining area, functioning kitchen, gives you a functioning garage, and it gives you a functioning living space. The main benefit is you want to have your tenants comfortable there, paying a little bit more of a premium in rent, but obviously enjoying their quality of life and not looking to escape and get out as quickly as possible. So all of our rent by the room options require absolutely no alterations by the investor. They get turned over turnkey ready. The second major benefit is that we are not going to require our investors to become an operator in these properties. We're actually working with a nonprofit who's going to be placing tenants directly into the property for you. So you no longer have to play that role. They would do that. They have the rules, they have the training videos, they do the background checks, they do everything necessary to make sure that they can manage the property. So it is their core competency. And they're working with different demographics, including people who are at risk or being homeless. And so because they are a nonprofit, they have an infinite demand of people needing housing. They'll place them directly, which means that your role of managing the operation is absolutely zero. It's all being managed by the nonprofit. And the third one is probably the most important thing, is you're going to have virtually zero vacancy. The nonprofit that we partnered with to do this rent by the room options for this at-risk population is going to be paying an annual lease. They're paying for all the bedrooms on an annual basis in advance. So you're not doing a month-to-month rent and you're renting out all of the units ahead of time. Again, you're not going to have any vacancies because a nonprofit is already guaranteeing the rent for the entire year. So not only are you not having to reconfigure the property to make it work for this model, not only do you not have to become the operator, as a nonprofit will manage all tenant relations with the property, but you do not have to worry about the turnover risk with a month-to-month rental. They're all an annual lease. So all of our investors have access to the details of this property. You just go to buildtorent.com and click on Get Full Inventory. You will now get access to our entire inventory and you will stroll down to Punta Gorda. Let's go ahead and dive into the pro forma. Let's start with the incentives. We're able to get our investors interest rates as low as 5.25% on a DSCR loan. The other cool thing is this property is already rented out. So this property is already in motion, already has tenants placed. We already have the nonprofit managing these properties, and all of the tenants are on annual leases. With this, we also include 1 year free property management. So the key is we're going to give you a cash flowing machine that's already completed, already ready to go. This is a purely turnkey operation. We have the purchase price. The majority of our investors will put 25% down. There will be some closing costs. And then you're going to spend about $170,000 to get this deal as it's put together in this pro forma. So as we look at the details, this property is getting $5,400. If this was a traditional renter, you're getting around $3,000 in rents. In this case, we're getting $5,400, which is absolutely massive. When you take away all of your expenses, we take away your mortgage amount, now you're looking at a cash flow of over $1,700. This is a massive deal. The key is we're not paying down the principal. It's an interest-only loan for the first 10 years. So your cash flow is going to be through the roof. And the key is you can now use this cash flow to buy another property or do anything else you want to do with it. This is a great loan if you're nearing retirement, as you want to maximize your cash flow per property. So 1,752 in cash flow is phenomenal. You're still going to get your annual appreciation, your tax benefits. Overall, the wealth you're creating is absolutely massive. From that 170 that you put into the deal, you're getting about $73,000 back in wealth the very first year. And this deal is netting you a 12% cash on cash, which is massive. In today's market, it's absolutely almost impossible to get a deal above an 8% cash on cash. Here we're talking about a deal that's at 12.3% cash on cash, which is huge. And as you can see, this is a gorgeous property. One of the cool things about the way that the driveway is designed is you can do a K-turn within the property line. And this property can actually fit 6 cars per side, which is insane. So again, it's a rent by the room model, which means each person will have their own room. So this is a 3-2 duplex. And so total rooms being rented out is 6 properties. This driveway actually fits 6 vehicles. So all of your neighbors and all the cities won't be concerned because we're not modifying the property and the driveway is already being delivered, being able to hold 6 cars. And so this property is designed for durability. If you see the luxury plank flooring there, that's waterproof, it's scratch resistant, it's very durable. And if anyone ever were to get damaged, it's pretty easy to replace. All of the interior walls are exactly the same. If you're ever turning over a tenant, all someone has to do is go ahead and dab it up real quick with some fresh paint, and they're good to go. Property comes with window and blinds already established. This property actually comes with ceiling fans, which is an additional luxury touch. And so here's one of the features of this property. Again, Punta Gorda is a higher end neighborhood. So tenants expect to have a nice property. This has nice chrome finishes on the fixtures and granite countertops. Massive kitchen with French doors, refrigerator, deep plunge sink there, stainless steel appliances throughout, LED lighting so you never have to change a light bulb. This property is absolutely gorgeous. And if you think about the people who are renting this out, they're going to feel a lot more comfortable in this space because it's durable, it feels clean, and it's refreshing. The guys can go hang out in the living room, they can cook dinner, they can hang out in their own bedrooms. They have enough space to actually enjoy yourselves. This is going to be very difficult for them to want to move out from this space. It feels much more like a home. And so one of the things that makes Punta Gorda unique is that it's a quick drive to the beach from almost anywhere in Punta Gorda. You can get to multiple different beaches within 30, 40 minutes. It's rapidly growing, it's appreciating. Punta Gorda is currently on the path of prosperity, where the growth is obvious and it's the next place to go to. If you go a little bit north of Sarasota, prices are absolutely insane. If you go a little bit south to Bonita Springs, prices are insane. So you're kind of in that sweet spot where you have a high quality of life, yet the cost of living is not very high. And it's a place where young families, working professionals, and even individuals that are getting towards their twilight, they're all finding this place to be very attractive. So if you have any more additional questions, I would love to meet with you and go through all this in details. Please go to buildtorrent.com to get more information.